What's up, everybody? Welcome to SLC Puck. I'm your host, Austin Facer, coming to you live. Well, not live, this is a recording, but coming to you on another great episode of SLC Puck. Today is March 2nd, 2025. It's our first episode of March. I can't believe we're already in March. This is crazy. You know what next month is? It's April. And April marks the 1-year anniversary of this show, SLC Puck, and the Utah Hockey Club's arrival here in the Beehive State. So a lot of great things. This has been like the craziest 10 and a half, 11 months of my life. And I'm super happy that you guys have all been a part of it. We've been having a lot of fun together, growing SLC Puck like bamboo. That's how you say it. Like, doesn't bamboo grow pretty fast? Isn't that what they say about it? I think so. Hey, chirp me in the comments if I'm off on that one. But hey, really appreciate all the support. We've had a ton of fun over the last few months here, over the last 10 and a half months. And if you want to support the show, keep it rolling. There's a lot of great ways you can do that. And I always recommend going to slcpuck.shop and getting some of our cool merch, including the Cool Shades Yeti tank. I think I need to update the name on this one. We'll call it the Cool Shades Mythical Snow Creature tank. But this is one you're going to want to pick up soon, guys. We're getting into the warmer seasons of the year. It's 60 degrees outside. Isn't that sick? Isn't that crazy? Did we even have winter this year? We really didn't, right? It was a little bit slower on the winter months. You know, we did have snowfall, though, here in studio, in SLC Puck Studios, so that was a lot of fun. That was way back in October, man. A lot has happened since then, and a lot of great things going on with the Utah Hockey Club. They're in the thick of it, and it feels like these episodes are getting a little redundant at times, but, I mean, the story really hasn't changed too much. Oh, and sorry, let me just plug a couple other things before we hop into the show here. Nashcast was a ton of fun last week. Did 2 episodes of Nashcast with the legend Tyson Nash. We did that for the Chicago and the Minnesota games. So crazy fun. A lot of great hockey. A lot of great guests. I embarrassed myself big time on one of those. Probably both of those, to tell you the truth. But still had a lot of fun. Tyson Nash is the greatest. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world. But it was great to be on broadcasting over that homestand, because the homestand was really great for the Utah Hockey Club. And sorry, just another couple plugs. I can see here I have this QR code in the corner here. Scan to win, it says. That'll get you in a drawing at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers, Jonathan's Jewelry. So they've been great partners of SLC Puck. So make sure you scan that and support them and get yourself in the running for a gift card. I'll have more on that in an ad I'll play here in just a second. And another announcement, it's something you guys have been asking for quite a bit. You guys have said, oh, it's kind of getting old, I'll tell you the truth, all right? I know you guys think I just goof off here in this basement and don't work on a quality product for you, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But I've been hearing for months now, hey, when are we going to have an SLC Puck watch party? When is this happening? It's in the works right now. I've been vetting a couple of partners, trying to find us an ideal location to do an SLC Puck watch party, and I think we're close. I think we're on the edge, on the verge of finding a place to accommodate the SLC Puckers, those of you out there who are in the Puck Army, SLC Puck Army. So stay tuned for that announcement. I'm hoping I'll have some news on that for next episode. And again, don't forget to follow me on social media at SLC Puck on all platforms. I'll have updates there as well. Hey guys, let me just interrupt the show really quick. I'll get back to the melodious sound of my voice in just a moment. I wanted to remind you that we have this incredible giveaway going on with our good friends from Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry. All month, we've been giving away gift cards like they're going out of style, $250 a pop. I have no clue how the guys are able to do this. They assure me they're happy to do it. I know they're doing it. I've heard from some of our winners. They're psyched. They're going in the store. They're picking out some great stuff. It's amazing. And I've said this before. If you screwed up during Valentine's Day, maybe you didn't get the flowers, you forgot the chocolates, you need to get something to, repent for your sins, so to speak, atone, let's say that. Going into this giveaway and trying to get yourself a $250 gift card from Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry, That's your ticket out of the penalty box right there, my friend. So do that. Scan the QR code right here. I have it up all episode long too, but I just want to take a quick moment to remind you about the giveaway. It's still going on. It's still amazing. If you haven't won yet, you're still in the running. We're keeping it rolling. And a big thanks to our good friends at Jonathan's Jewelry and Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers for hooking us up and for hooking up listeners of SLC Puck. Oh, I almost forgot. You don't even have to win to take advantage of this great promotion. Just go into either one of these locations. Jonathan's Jewelry is in Cottonwood Heights. Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers is at Trolley Square. Just go there. Say you listen to SLC Puck. They'll knock $100 off your purchase just like that. Great deal. Again, we really appreciate our good friends at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry for hooking it up. Let's get back to the show. But hey, let's get into the topic at hand, which has been the topic that we've been talking about for like the last, 6 weeks or something. It feels like Utah Hockey Club in the thick of it, still on the playoff bubble. And I think they did themselves a lot of great favors over this last 4-game homestand. And just to recap that for you guys, again, Nashcast was on, so it was fun to be in the building, feel the energy for that. But over this last homestand, 3-1, big wins over Vancouver. That was a huge win, 2-1 victory on the 23rd, a week ago today. And then a big win over Chicago again, 2-1 on Tuesday. And then probably one of their most important and biggest victories of the season on Thursday over the Minnesota Wild, a 6-1 resounding win over the Wild. Clayton Keller had a career night with 5 points. I'll talk more about him in just a second because he's been huge. I think his impact has been a little understated. I'll tell you the truth. I think in a lot of ways we haven't talked about him enough, and I kind of think it's time we stop doing that. It's time we start talking a lot about Clayton Keller. But most recent result for the Utah Hockey Club, a 3-1 loss to New Jersey yesterday on Saturday. So, again, I'm gonna start positive, right? I'm gonna say terrific. Like getting 6 of a possible 8 points on the homestand was huge. I think they kept themselves in the race for sure. The hunt, I guess you could say. But again, I'm going to every time the Utah Hockey Club loses from here on out, and I hope it's not very often, I'm going to just feel like a pit in my stomach. I'm going to feel a little sick, regardless of how many victories they rack up around these wins. These losses they hurt quite a bit because let's just hop over to the standings here. And again, we're scoreboard watching. We check the standings all the frickin' time now. So let's just hop into this. So we can look here at the playoff race. This is the wild card standings here. And again, please pay attention, guys. I say this every episode, but 2 conferences in the NHL, 2 divisions, top 3 teams are in wild card, the remaining 2 teams with the next best records, right? So it's that second wild card spot we're after, being held right now by the Vancouver Canucks with 65 points. Utah Hockey Club remains in striking distance with 63. But they've been leapfrog. They're kind of going, it is leapfrog, right? That they're playing with a few other teams in the runnings, including the Calgary Flames and the St. Louis Blues, who both leapfrogged Utah. A victory over the New Jersey Devils, though as hard to accomplish as it might have been. New Jersey is one of those preseason media darlings, and by the metrics, they're one of the top 5 teams in the NHL, just based on offensive and defensive statistics. Where they are right there. But the Utah Hockey Club, man, 65 points. That would have been great to tie them with Vancouver. But the other important thing to bear in mind when looking at this are the games played and games in hand. So right now, Utah has played 61 games, same amount of games as St. Louis, but 2 more than Calgary. So Calgary has 2 more opportunities than Utah to rack up additional points in the standings. Vancouver has 1 game in hand on Utah. So really, really important to look not only at the points, but also the game in hand numbers right there. So these games, again, are getting increasingly important. We talk about this on the show. 94 seems to be the magic number. That's the one Utah Hockey Club needs to aim for in the standings. Remember, 2 points for a win, regulation or overtime, 1 point for a loss in overtime, 0 points for a loss in regulation. So again, losing that game to New Jersey in regulation was not great. We'll say that they get into 0 points for that. But let's do a little bit of math here, guys. And you know me, I hate math. So right now they're at 63 points. To get to 94, they'll need 31 more points. That'll give them the best possible chance to crack into the playoffs in their inaugural season. With 21 games to go, they need to get 16 wins to get 31 or 32 additional points. Let's just say 95 just to play it safe. So you do all that math and you figure out that the Utah Hockey Club from here on out with 21 games to go and needing 16 wins can only afford to lose 5 games. Excuse me, even worse than I thought. 5 games. So again, every one of these losses is going to hurt. They don't have a very large margin of error. In fact, it's razor thin at this point. The Utah Hockey Club basically needs to play perfect hockey to finish out the season. And I'm not saying it's impossible because, like, as we saw over this homestand, they have played very, very well at times. You know, I think the Minnesota game to me stands out in my mind. And it was such a masterclass by Clayton Keller. And I didn't get a chance to watch it too closely. The first time the game was played, I went back and watched the replay on Nashcast. You know, we're so busy like telling all these great stories and going back and forth between myself, Tyson, and our guests. We had some amazing guests for that Minnesota game. By the way, we had Mike Madonna, and we had Daryl Sadora, and we had Rick Bonus and his daughter Kristen, who is in the youth hockey. She's like the director of youth hockey at the Utah Hockey Club program. So again, really great. But again, we didn't get to watch the game too closely. But what we saw was a lot of like firepower offensively by Utah, being led by the Capitan. And I think he's a guy that we haven't talked about quite enough. Clayton frickin' Keller. He's the captain of the team. He wears number 9. That's my favorite number, so I especially appreciate that. But again, this is kind of where all the themes that we've talked about on the show kind of tie into each other, because I've been saying for so long that, I think Clayton Keller not making the Team USA roster for the Four Nations face-off is ultimately a good thing, because he's been playing with a chip on his shoulder, and February is no exception. I believe he led the entire NHL in scoring in the month of February. Not a ton of games in February in the NHL, obviously, thanks to the Four Nations face-off. But I mean, look at where Clayton Keller is in the standings here in terms of player statistics. So, leading the pack in the NHL, the NHL's leading scorer right now, Nathan McKinnon, MVP of the Four Nations face-off, has 91 points. Leon Draisaitl of Edmonton not far behind at 90. Nikita Kucherov from Tampa Bay there, Pasternak, McDavid, Marner, Kyle Connor, who I thought was a bad scratch at the championship game for the Four Nations face-off, Jack Eichel, who I really, really like, Mikko Rantanen, who's been involved in probably the biggest trade of the year so far, might get traded again, actually, which is kind of an interesting story to follow in Carolina, Jack Hughes, who kicked our butt the other night, and then right there at 11, our guy, El Capitan, Keller Instinct, Clayton Kells, with 69 points. Nice. I'll just add that. But we have not talked sufficiently about Clayton Keller. I think there's been so much excitement going on with the team, like because the story we've been told, and the story that I'm telling here on the show, is that this team has a very, very bright future, right? With guys like Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley, and others in the pipeline, T.J. Ginla, as a prospect who we might see at the NHL level, maybe next year, maybe not. But I think we're forgetting just how important the guys are who have the veteran presence on this team. And Clayton Keller, to me, is the guy that I personally feel guilty. And if Kells is watching this, let me apologize to you, Mr. Keller, for not talking about you sufficiently. You deserve all the praise in the world. And it's really impressive to consider what Keller has been asked to do. Right? I mean, so many guys on the Utah Hockey Club are stepping into a new role for the first time. Clayton Keller used to have a really sick house in Arizona with like a putting green. The dude loves to golf. I saw this house. It's funny. They did this back when they were the Coyotes. They did like a house tour with Clayton Keller, and you could tell he just absolutely did not want them in his house. So he just basically just showed them his backyard. Like, yeah, here's the putting green. All right, well, thanks for coming by. We'll see. It's compared to the other house tour videos. And by the way, there's been some really good ones. Obviously, like I don't know what beats the Dylan Guenther and Jack McBain house tour, because I think that's the one everybody has been dying to see, because we've heard so many stories about the hot tub, which does look a little putrid. Let's be honest. I think they could use like probably like all the chlorine that would be needed to clean an Olympic sized swimming pool could probably be put to good use at that hot tub. And I mean, no shade by that. Hey, that's just what something Michael Kesselring said on the Clean Hits podcast. But anyway, Kells, again, we don't know this. This is pure speculation. I'm sure it's hard to leave that cool setup where you like to go golfing, you like to hit the putting green, and come up here to Utah, where we didn't have an extremely snowy winter, but it's different, right? Guys like being in Arizona just because they like the weather, all the great stuff. That's why a guy like Tyson Nash continues to live in Arizona. Paul Bissonnette, is still there as well. They could live in any hockey city anywhere in the country. They choose to live in Arizona because it's such a great place to live. Weather, golf, restaurants, Houston's, fighting Irish travelers, all that good stuff, right? But so Kells was asked to come up here to Utah and be the face of a franchise, to be the leader of a new team here, a team that doesn't even have a freaking name, right? I believe. Hey, did you guys know that the Utah Hockey Club doesn't have a name yet? By the way, can you guys those of you who are commenting on my videos and my social media, like, I can't believe the team doesn't have a name. Like let me just ask you, like, how far behind the news are you? By the way, just curious. Did you hear we landed on the moon as well? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's trolling or what, but it always amazes me how little like some people are paying attention. But so pay attention to this is what I'm trying to say here. Clayton Keller is phenomenal. He is an NHL superstar. I think when you look at the list of players, which he's pacing in terms of scoring, I mean, it's kind of nuts, right? That we don't talk enough about him. Like, being 11th in scoring is no small feat in the National Hockey League. I mean, he's ahead of scoring. He's ahead of Sidney Crosby in scoring, Sam Reinhart, Zach Werenski, William Nylander, Quinn Hughes, Nick Suzuki, just some other name, Dylan Larkin, Jake Gensel, Austin Matthews, who did miss a significant chunk of time to injury, but and Tage Thompson is another one on this list. Clayton Keller has more points than all of them, and I feel like it's been his importance on this team has been severely understated. I apologize. I mean, I don't have any. I've been in the Utah Hockey Club locker room a few times. I get the feeling he commands a lot of respect in there. I remember reading an article before the season started where Andre Tourigny, or maybe it was GMBA Bill Armstrong, who talked about how Keller kind of has that Keller instinct, I guess you could say, where he sort of has like Michael Jordan energy. He pushes guys. He wants the best out of his team. And the fact that the Utah Hockey Club has weathered like a lot of storms, especially on the injury front, and just the whole sort of grand scheme of things, right? Just being in a new place, being wide-eyed, and dealing with a new set of challenges, right? And some of the challenges are good. Some of them are probably hard. Leaving a putting green behind is probably pretty hard. But I think Kells has been, his impact has been significant. And it always kind of, it doesn't surprise me to see like so many people with the Keller jerseys at hockey games. I think what he does on the ice is terrific. Although I'll say this, having watched the end of the New Jersey Devils game where the Utah had their goalie pulled, they pulled Vejmelka at the end of the game to try to get back into it. The Utah Hockey Club, by the way, has not scored on a 6-on-5 situation yet this year. And every time they pull the goalie, I get a text from like my mom or my sister, like, why the heck are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, it's going to make sense eventually. They're going, and they were actually 6-on-4, because that's right, because New Jersey had a penalty at the end of the game. So with the extra attacker, Utah Hockey Club not able to find the back of the net, and they haven't found the back of the net on a 6-on-5 situation yet. But I keep telling my wonderful team here at SLC Puck that eventually they're gonna get one of these goals, and it's gonna save them, a point or two, in the standings. And as we can see here in the standings that we just looked at, those points are gonna add up big time. So at one point it could be a season saving opportunity to get that extra attacker goal. But again, back to what I was saying about Keller. Sometimes he just holds the puck a little bit too long, and I think that drives people a little bit crazy. He has such a fantastic shot. He's such a skilled scorer. You know, he's scored in a number of ways this season. He's had some nasty dangles. I think of his goal over Igor Shesterkin as one against the Rangers. That was early in the year. That was the overtime winner to beat the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. But he also has such a great shot from the dots, from anywhere in the slot. You want to see Kell shoot the puck a bit more, but he's a facilitator. He's got 47 assists on the year. But damn it, Kells, you can shoot the puck too. You're really, really good at it. And I say it with so much love. Like, be aggressive, be shot first. We're going to need like rebound opportunities. We're going to need greasy goals here at the end. You have 22 goals on the season, Kells. You're a great, great, great shooter. And even if the puck doesn't hit the twine, you might hit a man in front of the net and get it going in a different direction, or give your teammates a rebound opportunity. And so to Kells, who I would like to think is watching the show, although he's probably not, that's just what I would say. And it's going to be a big part of finishing out the Utah Hockey Club season and getting those 16 wins that we need to get into the postseason. And we're here. It's March 2nd. It's getting real. The trade deadline is coming up. We've talked about this all the time on the show. If people have been paying attention, and I'm sorry, I'm saying that with a derisive tone. I love you guys, but I mean, how many times I had to say, the trade deadline coming up super, super soon. And, we're already seeing teams in the National Hockey League start to make some moves, right? The Florida Panthers executed a very big trade the other day, getting Chicago's Seth Jones, who, by the way, you older heads out there might find this interesting. Seth Jones' dad is Popeye Jones. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he was an NBA journeyman for like 10 years. And funny story there. I think when Popeye was playing for the Nuggets, he crossed paths with Joe Sakic of the Avalanche for whatever reason. And Sakic was like, hey, you should get your kid on skates. And Popeye's like, huh, well, okay. And, fast forward, the guy's, been monster in the National Hockey League. I'm gonna have to beep that. A monster in the National Hockey League. My first F-bomb that I accidentally dropped on SLC Puck. Whoops. But he's been a monster, and now he's gonna go to the Florida Panthers and bolster a blue line that, by the way, already won a Stanley Cup last season. So again, teams are making moves. They're buying, they're selling. General Manager Bill Armstrong, as I said in the last episode, has said we're going to stand pat as of now, unless we can make a move that will eventually bring us a Stanley Cup. It's going to be interesting to see what's out there, right? I mean, here's the other kind. I mean, there's elements to this to consider, like a guy like Mikko Rantanen, with Carol. It was traded from Colorado to Carolina in sort of a cap saving move, right? Because Colorado didn't want to have to pay him, the big contract extension, $100 million contract that he was going to probably demand in the free agent market. Carolina also, I think, is having trouble signing him to that long-term extension as well. And they might have to deal him at the trade deadline. And I think the rumor that's kind of circulating is something that a lot of people are finding to be a sexy idea would be for Utah to swing a deal to bring a guy like Rantanen in and give him that contract extension. I don't know if they will. We'll have to stay tuned. That's one of those moves that could be a Stanley Cup chance improving move. We'll just have to see. I think what the Utah Hockey Club has in their minds is kind of interesting. I don't think they want to go for a cup this year, maybe not even next year, maybe not for a couple years. In my mind, I've always kind of thought 2030 was going to be the Utah Hockey Club's year to really go for it. That's when Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley are going to be just entering their primes. They're going to be like in their mid-20s, late 20s. That's your athletic prime, right? Clayton Keller is going to have a few years of captaincy under his belt. Mikhail Sergachev's also going to be like a grizzled veteran who's still just in his early 30s in 2030. So, and the arena is going to be ready to go. The facilities are going to be all in place, and Olympics are going to be right around the corner. Like hockey is going to be at a absolute fever pitch in 2030. SLC Puck is still going to be going strong, by the way, for those of us who are forecasting the future. But I've always thought that was the year that the Utah Hockey Club has circled in their minds, that GMBA has all right, that's that's our move. That's when we strike, and that's when we go for the Stanley Cup and try to put a parade down State Street. So again, really interesting. We'll just have to see how it goes. We'll keep it posted, and follow me on social for all that. I have my alerts on, and I'll be retweeting, reposting anything that comes our way. But more stuff that I saw on social media this week that I thought was very interesting here. And we're going to check in with someone on our basketball front, to be totally frank here. We're going to check out what our good friend Holly Rowe has to say. And Holly Rowe had an interesting exchange with our good friend Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Hockey Club. And there was some really, 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 like a really interesting story that came out of this. And again, this is something that we've been following for a little bit here. Holly tweet, I'm trying to find this here. I did not have this one queued up, so I might have to just paraphrase this. But Holly, here we go. Yep. So here's a look, and here, I'll just put this up on my screen here. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, you're missing the benefit of the visual. So check it out on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe there as well. But it's Holly is quote tweeting this tweet by Sports Business Journal. The NHL has unveiled a rendering of Ohio Stadium's transformation for the Stadium Series game. Red Wings Blue Jackets faced off this last Saturday. It looked awesome, by the way, and I'll talk a little bit more about this just a second. But Holly says, incredible. Ryan, can we do this for the Utah Hockey Club? Cougar Stadium or Rice-Eccles, Lavelle Edwards Stadium or Rice-Eccles Stadium, BYU or Utah? To which Ryan replies, in motion. In motion. That means the wheels are churning. That means things are happening. Conversations are being had. Documents are being written. There's emails. I guarantee you there have been emails sent very legitimately, very earnestly about the possibility, about the logistical undertaking of putting an outdoor game in Utah. But there was also some really interesting news here on that note that provided by ESPN. I think it's something we're talking about a little bit here. So again, this Saturday, they hosted the Outdoor Stadium Series game in Ohio. So ESPN had this great article here after Ohio and Florida, because it looks like there's going to be an NHL game in Florida as well. Pretty interesting, I would say. Next year, they're going to be in Miami and Tampa Bay. Real spectacle there. But the Horseshoe in Ohio, that was a big deal. So the story is, after Ohio and Florida, where will NHL host next outdoor games? And we got to look for stuff on Utah, right? Okay, so here's a story from Emily Kaplan. Once the Panthers play in next year's Winter Classic, the only team that has yet to appear in an outdoor game is the Utah Hockey Club. Smith Entertainment Group has told the NHL they are interested and they'd be prepared if the NHL gave them a green light. Meyer, who's this is a guy named Meyer, what was his first name? This is the guy who's like really involved with NHL programming. Steve Meyer said his team has scouted Utah but hasn't made any decisions yet. A lot of the issues we have as well are the schedules are really crowded in terms of college football. In Utah, for example, their football stadium, and I believe he's talking about both Rice-Eccles and perhaps Lavelle Edwards Stadium, you could never do a Winter Classic because of the possibility of doing a college football playoff game. Woo! So what does that mean, right? Does that mean that the Utah Hockey Club won't be able to host an outdoor game in either one of those venues? No, actually. I mean, there still remains a very strong possibility. It would just have like kind of a different look than what you might be imagining when you think of the Winter Classic. It's important to remember the NHL does two different kinds. And if you guys are like hockey heads, you already know all this stuff, you're going to find this remedial. But I'm assuming a lot of the folks who listen to me are kind of new to hockey. So I'll just enlighten you. So, I mean, there's two kinds of outdoor games that the NHL could do in Utah. It sounds like the Winter Classic wouldn't be a possibility. So it might have to be a Stadium Series game. So the difference, I would say, and I'll just try to explain it succinctly and concisely, is the Winter Classic, that's the marquee outdoor game. It's New Year's Day. It's very much built on nostalgia, very much built on traditional old-timey hockey stuff. That's where you see the teams wear like retro-inspired uniforms, and the logo kind of has a folksy retro feel. Whereas the alternative option, the Stadium Series, that's a little bit more has a modern feel. The uniforms are a little bit more flashy, kind of futuristic, sort of very modern kind of feel to it. And that helps the NHL just get out to more markets rather than just playing just the one Winter Classic game, and they've had Stadium Series games. Like they're going to have them in Florida, for example. And they've had them in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. I think for Utah, the best fit, considering what the NHL is saying here, is going to be those Stadium Series games, because they can't take the chance that they're going to book the venue at Rice-Eccles Stadium or LaVelle Edwards and then, run into some issues with the college football season or whatever. It doesn't seem super likely to me that either one of those venues would host a college football game the weekend of New Year's Day. But hey, you never know, right? They just can't, they feel like they can't take that risk of even, being double booked that way. So I think you'll see the Utah Hockey Club be involved in a Stadium Series game. And I think it's going to be so incredible and so magical. And I would encourage you guys to just kind of understand what that feels and to sort of just paint a picture in your own heads. Go to the Columbus Blue Jackets Twitter feed, and you'll see all the pictures from their game at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, where the Ohio State football team plays. They played the Red Wings there and beat them in a kind of a controversial game, 5-3. But there's so much pageantry that goes into these games. You can see the uniforms are pretty slick. They kind of have a modern look. The players are wearing eye black. They're under the lights. And it's just so, here's Peter Herbstreit. That's Kirk Herbstreit's dog. He's got a front row seat. That's very fun. I love that. And it's such a celebration of the community that these games are in, right? I think that's really the fun part. There in Columbus, they had the Ohio State marching band come out and spell out Ohio kind of in their signature way. The game looked like a ton of fun for the fans. They do this walkout, this procession that is very much sort of reflective of the community and gets people excited. When they have these Stadium Series games, you'll see the players kind of do something fun to honor the city it's in. Like, the Flyers had a game in Philadelphia, so they arrived at the game dressed like Rocky Balboa in their sweats. I don't know what the Utah Hockey Club would have cooked up for this one. I'm sure there would probably be a youth hockey element involved in this, just based on what we've seen from the Utah Hockey Club. But just try to paint this picture in your head where the Utah Hockey Club comes out at Rice-Eccles Stadium, because I think that's the more likely destination for one of these. And they come out, they come out the same tunnel in the south end zone that the Utah football program does. Maybe they'll play Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue the same way the University of Utah football team does. Maybe they'll have Swoop and Cosmo. He'll be in the loop too. And the Woolly Mammoth mascot, whoever that ends up being, Hockey Bear, Jazz Bear, whoever, they're like revved up on motorcycles the same way Swoop does, when the Utes take the field. And that's the way the Utah Hockey Club would take the ice at Rice-Eccles Stadium for a Stadium Series game. So I like just the thought of it kind of like gives me butterflies. I think it's real. I think it's something that we're going to see announced in a few years. And I think maybe 2027, maybe 2028. I don't know. Remains to be seen. But it's definitely going to happen here at Utah at some point. And let's get tickets now. Like, can we put a deposit down now? It's going to be one of the greatest sporting event memories that we may ever have here in Utah. It's going to be right up there with, the Olympic opening ceremonies, NBA finals. I think it's going to be one of those things that people are going to talk about and remember for a long, long time. It's going to be the hottest ticket in town. And this is the hottest podcast in town. SLC Puck. Another episode of the book. We ran a little bit long today. The episodes are going longer. That's a lot of fun. Don't forget to support our good friends over at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers, Jonathan's Jewelry. Scan the QR code. If you have a hot take, hit up the SLC Puck hotline. Numbers right here in the corner, 919-666-PUCK Puck, 7825. Don't forget to go to slcpuck.shop for merch. Follow me at SLC Puck. Oh, and one more thing to plug. slcpuck.com is where you can sign up for newsletters. So I'm going to roll out 2 newsletters a week. It's going to be full of a lot of valuable information, easy to read, free, direct to your inbox. I have a lot of great stuff from Utah Hockey Club, the hockey scene around Utah. We'll celebrate, high school stuff and all that wonderful, wonderful hockey we have going on here in Utah. So make sure to subscribe to that. And thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday.